Lately, I think, especially over the last couple of years, both Sony and Microsoft kind of put on this facade like they're best buddies, and they buy each other drinks and send each other birthday cards and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that they hate each other per se, but when you see these documents that come out after the Activision merger acquisition from Microsoft, and you see the way that Sony's reacting, you can see why Microsoft is kind of calling them hypocrites. You can see like behind closed doors, because in certain territories, this stuff is open for all to view, these documents and stuff. Whereas, like in particular, in a lot of other places, these would be closed and redacted 100%. So you see exactly where some of this bitterness and some of this angst and some of this stuff comes from. And it's just funny to me that Sony is very much reacting in the negative way that they are. And I have to be honest, as far as I can tell, Microsoft is handling it pretty well. I think Sony is probably ticked off that they don't have the type of money and clout that Microsoft has. Yes, Sony is like technically the number one console selling console or what have you. I mean, I guess you could make the Switch. I don't know, but Sony always does well. They really thrived last generation off of Microsoft's own mistakes. Every time Microsoft did something stupid, Sony was there to rub their nose in it and go, "We do the opposite." So now it's kind of funny to see when this kind of stuff comes up, and we continue to see a little bit of back and forth and some bitterness and some that rivalry is very real in these court documents, and Microsoft is really firing off one after the other. I recently did one about another recent response from Microsoft in this vein, but this isn't a response about that per se. This is a response and accusations that Sony is actually paying to keep games off of Game Pass. Imagine that, right? Imagine that. Like, Sony has spent a long time saying Game Pass is unsustainable. It's this, it's that. It's not quality. And then on the other hand, they're going around behind everybody's back and paying to keep these games off of Game Pass. I think that is very strange. It's a strange play, especially considering that Sony has their own service and pay to put games on there as well. I don't see Microsoft doing the same thing to them. I could be wrong, I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting to see, like very much long term, how this kind of plays out on both sides, because what I've noticed with Game Pass this year, especially over the last few months, is a lot of the big games have dried up. A lot of that also has to do with we haven't really seen many big games released this year. It's been a relatively dry year overall for everybody, but I think are we going to see a situation with when these games do start rolling, are we going to see more added to Game Pass? Is it now Microsoft, instead of, it used to be we would argue about who's going to get marketing rights in a game, but now it's like if Microsoft doesn't get marketing rights to a game, are they even going to be able to put it into Game Pass? Like, is Sony going to make that a stipulation for things like, hey, yeah, we'll market your game, but you can't put it in Game Pass. I think that's sort of ridiculous. But I want to get into this. It should be a fun video, and I'm also eager to hear what you all have to say about it. But do me a favor, like the video. Like any videos that you watch of mine, I'm trying to get 100 likes on each of the videos. It really is a small goal, but a small goal is better than none. So let's go ahead and get started. It's going to be a good video. Now, reading through this, it was a little bit shocking to see some of the things that Sony apparently have been doing, at least according to Microsoft. So yeah, this is definitely one of those things that I wanted to get into as quickly as possible and kind of just talk about it, because man, this is like some cutthroat stuff, some stuff that I think realistically many of us didn't really expect from Sony, but again, Sony kind of does what Sony wants to do. So Xbox is alleging that Sony's paying developers to keep their games off Game Pass. Microsoft also claims that Sony may be paying some devs to refuse to add their games to Game Pass, firing back against acquisition criticisms. As Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is nearing its completion, the company is obligated to convince a variety of worldwide governments that Xbox taking over Candy Crush, Diablo, and Call of Duty is in fact not an example of antitrust behavior. The documents that Microsoft is sending over to relevant governing bodies to facilitate this acquisition has proven to be particularly intriguing. The latest example of Microsoft's making curious and surprising striking comments on the state of the industry come from its submission to the Brazilian Administrative Council for Economic Defense, or CADE. Justifying Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the document claims that Sony is participating in blocking titles from launching on Game Pass by paying developers off. Microsoft's letter to CADE doesn't mince word, and I quote, "Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass," according to the document, though portions of it have been redacted for probable confidentiality. The gist of the argument is that Sony may be paying devs specifically not to feature their games on Xbox's Game Pass subscription service. Many consider the renewed PlayStation Plus to still be inferior to Xbox Game Pass, and Microsoft is suggesting that one of the ways in which Sony is stifling the growth of Xbox is by bribing developers to keep them away from it. The CADE letter was presumably sent out alongside Microsoft's report to the Commerce Commission of New Zealand, where it stated that Activision Blizzard games aren't must-have titles. This was spurred by Sony's claims that Call of Duty specifically is an unrivaled blockbuster that effectively shouldn't be owned by a first-party console manufacturer. At the same time, it's worth pointing out that Microsoft has explained that it would make no sense to limit Call of Duty to just one console platform, and that it won't be leaving PlayStation fans hanging out to dry. Unsurprisingly, however, this is just a small part of the ongoing tug-of-war between Microsoft and Sony as of late. Microsoft has pushed back against Sony's acquisition concerns with a concerted effort, and it's clear that the company is doing everything it can to appear as non-threatening and benign in the gaming arena as possible. At the same time, Sony is attempting to paint the acquisition as less as anti-competitive behavior, and it's not yet clear which side the legislators may lean towards. It's not difficult to understand where Sony's coming from. Xbox now controls 2 classic PlayStation IPs among a magnitude of others that are fairly well established across the entire spectrum. The main concern is bound to be that Xbox might pull the plug on supporting PlayStation over a long period of time, which would certainly not be unprecedented. But again, it's sort of ironic since Sony just bought Bungie, and they could, I guess, in some way, shape, or form, decide to pull things off of Xbox at some point down the line or whatever. But they also continually buy and money hat games, and I've gone over this numerous times. They continue to buy, these games and things like that, like Kingdom Hearts, and as well as the Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy 16. It says PlayStation exclusive, at least timed. Final Fantasy VII Remake said timed exclusive, but that was years ago, and now the second part of that is coming out with no sight whatsoever towards an Xbox version. So I don't understand why it's okay in Sony's eyes. Hey, let's go ahead and pay these developers to put their game exclusive to us. Then let's go ahead and pay more developers to make sure that their games cannot go into Game Pass, and then let's go ahead and complain about Microsoft and say that they're ruining gaming and they're having an unfair advantage, etc., etc. It's such a messy piece of nonsense, in my opinion. And again, I think it's all gonna kind of come out one way or the other here very soon. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. I mean, obviously this deal is mere weeks away from completing. Should be interesting to see where it all ends. With that being said, let me know what you guys think. Like I said, if you enjoyed the content, please leave a like on the video. It helps it to be seen and the channel to grow. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thanks for watching. Crap Gamer out.